recent polling suggests the referendum is on track to fail. Now, Geoff Chambers broke this story about the Yes campaign strategy, and he joins me now. Great to see you, Geoff. So what is the strategy here from the Yes campaign to try win over these soft voters?
Hi, Shari. Yeah, so the Yes 23 campaign is saying that they've now got more than 27,000 volunteers. Now, the level of engagement of those volunteers is pretty unclear, but the document that I obtained was a bit of a cheat sheet or a guide for these volunteers, and they're being tasked basically to make countless calls, a lot of door knocking, and get out into the community. And what this guide basically showed was tricks and sort of techniques to allay concerns of that big undecided rump of voters. And they're estimating it's around 4.6 million Australians undecided, and they're gunning for just under 40% of that, which they believe that they will need to climb a very big mountain because, as you said, polling across the board is showing that they're on track for defeat. And a lot of the resources, and we're going to see that advertising, multi-million-dollar advertising campaign really kick up once Anthony Albanese declares the date at an event in Adelaide or near Adelaide on Wednesday. This real focus on this week. So it's a real focus on places like South Australia, Tasmania, and then those harder states to budge like Western Australia and Queensland. So it sort of seems that the more simple they try and make it, the more complex it is to actually explain the voice, because they have to keep saying that, you know, the way that this thing will function and the design of it, you won't see that until after the referendum in October. So pretty tricky one to sell.
Yeah. Look, Geoff Chambers, you also had another exclusive on the front page of The Australian today. This is about Workplace Relations Minister Tony Burke's industrial relations reform. He's really staring down fierce anger from the business community, employer groups as well, over this quite sweeping industrial relations reform. We haven't even seen the final details of this yet, although the groups involved have, I understand, had a look at it. What is so concerning for these groups?
So business representatives who were granted access to the draft exposure bills, which we're expecting will be finally tabled in Parliament next week, they've all had to sign NDAs. So effectively their hands are tied. What I've heard is that they said that particularly around casuals, labour hire and employee-like changes, that it's progressively worsened. It's worse than they feared. And they're very concerned. And the relationship between business and the government is very soured from where it was after the election. It's going to get a lot worse in the back half of the year. This legislation, which will be put in under the cover of the voice debate, will get kicked off to a inquiry. And then we're expecting, similar to the multi-employer bargaining reforms, very controversial reforms they brought in just before Christmas last year, that'll be a similar timing. So this is going to be a much bigger fight. These reforms are the biggest in generations, and it was quite telling at ALP National Conference recently. Usually there's a bit of a Barney around IR. This time, not a concern, not a problem, because effectively everything the unions want will be in this sweeping omnibus bill.
Yeah, exactly. And Geoff, we're going to keep covering that important topic. Geoff Chambers, thank you very much for joining me as always on a Monday.